brother, Professor Tortuga, Javier Cortez,
Yeah.
the silent assassin, aka Todd, the turtle of death.
You give me too much credit, Professor. I'm uh, just jujitsu dad. I'm not really. I don't have any. How do you say it? Any type of jujitsu pedigree or aspirations. I just like I do it for fun. Been
Yeah,
doing it for a
yeah.
while. It's a really good time.
You're inspirational for me, just because I watch you day in and day out. I remember when you first came, you were just wanting to get better and improve and be legit. Be like, if you're whatever belt you are, you wanna represent. Even though you're very humble and very speak a lot, to what do you call it? Yeah, just outgoing, like big speaker. You were like, do your thing, but very precise, very quality. Everything that you do, even when I train with you, you pay attention to the details, and yeah, you just show up. I remember asking you, how did you find jiu-jitsu? So I wanted to kind of start with that.
Let's see. It started like well, I've been doing it now almost 18 years.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
a very close. This October is going to be 18 years. So it's been a while.
You started
But
in Los Feliz, right? Like some.
yeah, good memory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that was a conversation we had a long time ago. It was like I forgot the name of the Kenji or
This is like a karate place or
it's a Muay Thai place.
Muay Thai place.
And they had like an affiliate program or something like
The Gracie Academy.
crazy. And then every once a month or even maybe two times a month, Gracie would show up. And that's kind of how I started.
Which Gracie?
Hoist Gracie.
Hoist Gracie. Wow. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and then actually he was one of the, as far as most, common story with everyone that, at this age or, my age that it was because of UFC, right? You saw him
Right.
and you were like, I wanted to at least learn some of that, right? It
Yeah,
seemed like
for sure.
It almost seemed like surreal to see, that type of that type of ability, right?
Right.
So in one of the
Smaller
classes,
guy beating all these big guys, with the techniques that he was using, right?
yeah, I mean, it was just amazing just to see, and actually, but it was somewhat like it was somewhat detached from UFC one. I think
That's 'cause it was
when I wanted to do it, I don't think. I mean, there weren't that many studios, and actually, frankly, I didn't even have the money because it seemed like it was pretty expensive. As far as martial arts for the most part, if you do taekwondo or find a little karate place,
right.
they're all reasonable, but
Yeah.
these always seem like a little bit. And then you felt like, oh, this must be for a reason, right? So years went by, but then one day, and I think. It was like some Brazilian event, like down in Dominguez Hills, like where.
Yeah, we used to have a lot of tournaments over there.
Yeah, there was
The Compton, right?
yeah,
Dominguez Hills, yeah.
And so I saw they had like a Brazilian type nights type thing, and
Oh, okay.
and they had like all these little booths and stuff, and then one of the booths was it was a jiu-jitsu thing, and I asked about it, and then they said, well, you can't. They were out kind of like in the Torrance area, I think, and so they said one of the places where we do offer it is like one of these affiliate programs where and then there was that one school that.
That's amazing, and it was like in Los Feliz, out of all the places, which is it's LA and nearby, and kind of. I think they probably started to play the Beverly Hills place by that time, right?
I'm not really sure. I attended for a few months, and then I started. I started going to this place that was closer to where I worked in Hollywood. It was this place called True Warrior Fitness.
Oh yeah. The Toby Greer, right?
Yeah, and I mean that place was just like, it was just chaotic. It was just like all these people that just want to be mixed martial artists, right?
Yeah.
And so everything was just wild. It was like and
Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, MMA.
Yeah, I mean, I started this like kind of like older, so I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, and then I'm getting thrown in this where these kids that are like, they just want to make it a profession, right? And I was just like, I just kind of wanted the exposure because I thought it was, I always had that fantasy of that one day I could just learn it, even if it was just a little bit, right? Just like get some exposure and then just figure out that, see what it was about. Uh,
Did
and
you used to watch Bruce Lee or I don't know martial art, any fight like martial art movies or
Yeah, those were really fun. I mean, my mom always she used to love those movies,
your
and
mom did?
yeah, and she's the one that got me into martial arts.
Oh no way.
When I was younger, I was doing taekwondo, and
Okay.
this was
She
my
put you in
junior.
taekwondo
Yeah,
as a
and
kid.
I really didn't want to do it. I mean, it was mostly for her, but most of that I just kind of like.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
But I kind of like went as far as I wanted to go with that. I got a black belt on that, and
Okay.
but it's so far removed from today.
What did it give you though? Like because people are like, oh, taekwondo, karate. Like when you do the, I always like, man, it's better than nothing. And depending on the school, but it teaches you like like discipline to show up, to listen, to like definitely big. I think some good character things a lot of times, and to follow through with something that you start. Like you guys said, you got your black belt. Is that true?
Yeah.
So you can tell
Uh,
me the good things, even though we're about jujitsu and
no,
this
well,
other
the good
stuff.
things is that there is that discipline,
Hmm.
um, and there's a mostly it's just that exposure to having something that. Uh, to something different, then also an ability that I think being to able to like defend yourself. I mean, there's always like this thing that in my mind that you do these things, but like I don't know, not everything has to like lead to something like a career in martial arts or
For sure.
lead to uh, to some sort of black belt, but just the exposure to have something
Hmm.
that I feel like knowing how to defend yourself or having that exposure to knowing how to defend yourself, I think it's important. It's kind of one of those life skills,
Life
like
skills, yeah.
knowing how to like learning to cook a little, right? I mean, I have like, for example, my like in my family, there's like at least uh, my grandparents. It
You
was
said
very role
you said
divided.
your both your parents are from Nicaragua?
Yeah,
Wow. Okay, so your family's from Nicaragua.
yeah,
Have you
yeah.
been back?
Went back. Let's see. We went back probably 11 years. I came back. I came here when I was 7.
Oh, okay. So you were born there actually.
I was born there,
Wow.
and so we left because of the Civil War.
Right.
And
The
so we always had that.
Sandinistas,
Yeah,
they've
yeah.
taken over.
And we always had the intention. Well, at least my parents. At 7, I didn't plan much, but we always had the intention to going back. But the country never really got any better, and then it kind of started.
Longest dictators in the, in the
I know,
in the-
you have a revolution, you replace someone with someone even almost worse, right? And
yeah.
so, uh, now I don't follow the politics as much because I just dismiss it as banana republic, and what are you gonna do?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of like
I mean, the country's beautiful.
it's
It's
beautiful,
paradise, and
it's
suppose
beautiful.
it seems very safe too. Like as long as you don't right do anything the wrong things, right? But as long as you keep your
Yeah, I mean, I think when it's just the when I went, it was like 11, 12 years ago. I don't know.
okay,
But that was from the point that we left the country. That was so I've only been back once, right? So
but you were
it's
an adult when you went the last time you went.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then went to Costa Rica and then crossed over to visit family in Nicaragua.
Okay.
And it was fun. I mean, uh, it's fun to see how much of your family you have like out there.
Yeah.
Because when you come over here, like when you're just your immediate family leaves, like my parents, and they, we didn't like come to a bigger family. I mean, I have an aunt, and an uncle here, but that other than that, I mean, maybe another cousin, and that's it. I mean, we don't have it. So family get-togethers, they're always like, "Ooh," they're small.
Yeah.
But when I went over there, it was like, oh wow, my family is like. It felt like something I was not used to. Something where you have like, you know, and everybody remembers you. But I mean, that was funny. It was like, oh, yeah, Javiercito is what they used to call me, right?
Javiercito.
It was like that little diminutive that they had. But anyway,
All
they
these
remember
cousins
me.
and all these
Yeah.
aunts and uncles, and they talk about how they moved to America. And
Yeah, so it was great to see and to see that you're part of even if you're not
something bigger. Yeah.
yeah there's something bigger. You're part of a bigger clan. It's just like it's always nice to like go touch go see where you discover your roots a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would love
But
to
they're
go
from
again.
Managua?
Yeah, we're from Managua, so that's mostly where most of at least on my dad's side. We're all from Managua. But you were there just recently, right?
Yeah, I've been going. Yeah, it's
so
really beautiful.
Well, where do you go?
We go on. We went to, depending on the time, but you go to the West Coast and some beaches there, and then we went to San Juan del Sur as well. But yeah, that was just the West Coast, and we kind of did a little drive. Went to the lake, the second, well, not the one by Managua because that one's dirty, but the other one, and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Yeah,
it's like paradise.
Once you go to those, Central American countries, you just want to leave the big city as fast as possible, and you're like in another world.
They have like all these special species, in that lake. There's like a big old island right inside the lake because it's so big.
Oh, the volcano.
The volcano. And
yeah,
it's really special.
I gotta plan and go again, and maybe.
And it's not developed, right? So it's like like these beaches, like they're the surfing, there's so many beautiful things there, but it's not developed. So it's like it's you don't see that anymore. Like in Panama, Costa Rica, like all these things are like developed and. And
even Costa Rica for a long time, Costa Rica was like
all these people there, but there it's like so underdeveloped and beautiful.
Yeah,
like the nature is there, but you're like,
there's a lot of people that actually retire and go.
Right, a lot of expats move there.
Yeah, so that's kind of
because the cost of living is much lower.
I wonder how the locals feel about that. I wonder if they like it. I mean, they're friendly people.
Yeah, they're friendly. I think it's good for the economy, good for them because they get those euros or dollars, right?
There's also that exposure to other people too. That is always fun, right? It's not till it becomes overwhelming where you're like, hey, you want to like stop, But I think with any type of balance, there's always, you always have that friendliness to something something different, different peoples. So yeah, I gotta make it. I get one of my.
Gotta go back.
Yeah, put it on my list again and go back.
Yeah, for sure.
But
so going back to your jiu-jitsu journey, and cause it's always interesting to hear people's stories, right? 18 years ago, you went to this, martial art, the Muay Thai gym, right? And they had some jiu-jitsu. Hoist Gracie, right? Out of all the people, Hoist Gracie teaching there twice a week.
A month, actually.
A month? Oh, just 1 month? Okay.
But I mean,
still.
I think he shows up a little more now. I'm not really sure, but yeah, that was like.
Still, that's amazing.
But it was like it's.
Hoist Gracie.
Yeah, but you know what? It cemented the idea that this is like the sport I wanted to like, invest my time in.
Yeah.
Like it was, he was teaching a class about just the balancing your movement, right, and how how you could eventually start to feel someone else's weight, and you know what they're gonna do just based on little movements. And so he had people mount, like he would just sit there and just have people mount him, and he would just be like this, okay, do whatever you want, and so people were attacking him, everyone that took a turn were attacking him, and he'd just go like that. You just a little twist, and people would just fly off. And I'm like, you would be like, wow, there's something really just unique and amazing about having that relationship with with yourself, right? That you have that, and now as I practice a bit more, like it creates this comfort, right? Where people might grab you a certain way and it look really twist, and they want to spin you, right? But the fact that that you want to get thrown and tossed, you're just like make a little adjustment, and then it's over. They have to do something else, right? And those are the fun things about it. Is like this the little discovery that you make every time that you're out there and expose yourself to grappling. But yeah, so. But unfortunately, he wasn't there like enough where for the most part I was a blue belt teaching, and so.
But it was him solidifying the idea, like the level that it could get to for you, and of what this could do, the jiu-jitsu.
And as much as I loved that exposure of just seeing him, and it wasn't enough for me. I wanted to just see if I could find some black belts or something like, or at least higher belts than, the blue belt that was like kind of teaching the class at the time.
Yeah.
And so that's how I ended up at True Warrior Fitness. But it was
go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, it was a little discouraging because because it was just like these kids were like, they're so tough, right? And you're like, man, I need some other type of training to to balance this out, because this is just too much force coming at you. And then at a early level, you're like, I can't deal with it. So what I ended up doing was just a lot of it was just like I said, well, you know what? Well, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna be like this cage fighter. That's not for me. I'm not even a competitor. So what I'm gonna do is just want to work out my defense and forget about submissions,
That's how the Tortuga,
the
Tortuga guard, the turtle guard was born, huh? Turtle style, rather, I should say.
And
for you.
And that's what started to give me like this. I started to find what I wanted out of it, like what I wanted out of jiu-jitsu. Okay, so like, if I strip ambition, strip ego out, strip everything out, and I just want to like defend myself from these people.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna find what I'm looking for, right? I worry about submissions. I even said to myself, I give yourself a year, because I kind of wanted to quit. This is like rough, man. I'm like going home bruised.
Yeah.
Like I had like this one time. I had this guy like in a triangle, right? And this guy, he was like this big guy. He was like, remember what was his name? Kimbo. Like
Kimbo Slice.
With the beard, but a little smaller. And this guy. So I have my triangle, and this guy picks me up, and he just slams me into the mat. I'm like, and then I let go. I mean, he kind of passed out a little, but I was like, man, this is brutal, and I can't really.
Was it like no gi as well?
I would just.
There was no gi.
Yeah, there was no gi. There was gi, but I would leave that gym like limping sometimes, from just like how brutal it was. I'm like, okay, so I said, you know what? What I need is some skill. I don't mind the brutality, right? But I need skill. Like I need something where. And the other thing is that they also had like these instructors, like they did have black belts, but they were kind of like circulating. It was like they never really like, it's almost like at one point when I started, it was like some sort of like, I think it was one of the Machados, and then and then it was one of their students, and they pass it on and pass it on. So it was like never
rotating.
Yeah, so it was almost like you never build a relationship with any of the instructors, right? So, but it was fine. Like at that point, I still didn't have like what I wanted defined. Like I think what I mostly wanted was, again, to give myself a year, because I had I had internalized that I don't want to do this because it's brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, who am I kidding? I'm 30-something, mid-30s, and I'm trying to like bang with these kids. And so I started going to I decided to go to the Gracie Bar.
In Glendale, yeah.
There was one so there was one in Glendale. At that point, our company was moving, and so I said, okay, I'll try that. I want to learn some skills. I'm going to come back and kick some ass here.
Yeah.
And so I was doing both for a while. And so, But by that point, I was like, um, I had already started my little path into like defending myself to learn this whole being able to defend myself. So when I started like going in Glencoe, so I started, I wasn't doing too bad. I was like, hey, this whole defending yourself is doing pretty good. And then there was like every once in a while I would sneak in a counter attack, and it was like I go home like wow, and then I wasn't going home so injured and like okay, so I need something more formal. So, and so I decided, well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop this one here because it really, these guys are more focused on entering, a lot, they have UFC aspirations, right? So I was like, and that's not for me, but what it did help me with my goal that I wanted to defend myself, and I started doing that there, and I started to, survive. And once I started to survive, I started like, oh, well, I wasn't getting injured as much, and so I felt like, okay, maybe I'll just come and visit to really gauge how I'm doing once I start like going to the other school a bit more, and so I did that, and then I realized, hey, I'm finding a little bit of a balance here, and that's kind of like how I got it. And then eventually
got the jiu-jitsu bug.
Yeah, and
fully.
And the good thing about the Gracie Baja system at the time was that they would allow you to visit, and then
visit other schools.
Yeah, and then that's how I found out your school. And then I'm like, when I started visiting your school, I was like, wait a minute, this is a lot tougher, right? You had like some bad hombres coming in and just like, so it felt a little like like True Warrior Fitness, that
the
toughness, but it also had the skill
and the finesse.
You're right, and then you had and you also didn't have all these like people that were just out trying to murder each other.
But it was a good environment,
but there was there's still that murder aspect, right? That people want to murder you, but nicely. So,
but they take care of you.
So yeah, they take care of you, and so that's when I decided, okay, well, I'm gonna switch. It was tough for me because I tend to be like once I get going, I'm pretty like loyal. So I was like, maybe there's a way to balance the two, and that's when you said, I just do it, right? And then, well, it's what in the end, it's what's good for you, right? And so I switched, and
you came with Ron too, right?
Yeah,
the first day. Yvette too.
Ron.
Yvette came in, but it was separate, right, from you.
Ron claims that he brought me, right? But let's just just to clear to set the record straight, it's just like I
think Ron has like our highest viewed podcast. Ron Solana, yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how, but Javier Tortuga's taking it today.
No, there's no taking anything. But you know what? We have that thing, him and I, that who came here first. But I had already visited a few times, so and when we decided that we were gonna switch, I called him up. You go, I'm doing it. I'm just gonna switch, and then we just switched, and so. And it's
because you guys were like the higher ranking guys, were one of the main people over there, I think, at the time, something like that. I don't know.
That's it. It was a brand new school in terms of. I think we're almost one of the first ones that started there, and then.
It was a different environment, right? Different environment, I think. From what I remember, just the training level, but also I think the culture and the environment too. Is from what you were telling me, what you shared with me.
Yeah, I mean, there really
was like a different thing because like remember Sam Montes, him and his brother. They went over there because they were animators, and they went over there for I think a noon class or an evening class, even like it's a wholly different thing.
Well, it's very traditional, and it follows that the Gracie Baja curriculum. So there's no bending the rules or anything. There's there's no foot play until like your brown belt and or leg locks or anything like that. So it's so if you were curious about that, that's not what would be for you. You could get you get in trouble if you're too rough or you're too this. And over here I was like it's with you it was still Gracie Baja at the time, right?
Mhm.
And then but you were a little bit more open minded as far as the you know like sometimes I would see two guys going at it. I'm like, wow, that's rough. I was listening. My mentality was like, that usually gets you kicked out somewhere else, right? But you just had two cats going at it, and you're just like there by the wall. I'm like, and then you even saw like fighting, and you just even start looking at your other students, and like, oh, they're just gonna go back and like, I don't know, So I would always watch it, like, I mean, I've seen where it's gone out of hand and where it's gone ugly, and then I've seen you act. So I know you have a threshold, right? There's a limit. And so, but I like that your limit is like, you're more.
Let the guys do their thing.
Yeah, in the end.
I remember, Garrett. I remember, what was it, Garrett? That guy, Garrett, that, should dropping his name, but the guy who, he got like, he was playing dirty with you. Like I'm like, man, we had to kick him out. Like,
Yeah.
once he messed with you.
Well, out of all the, I don't think I've ever had anyone where, like, in the whole 18 years where I feel like, I'm not going to stop at the bell, that like when this guy, I need to, like, once I get a little good choke on him, I'm going to like keep it a little longer. And that's about it. I've never ever had like this whole, like, I never had any animosity towards anyone or anything like that.
That's not what it's about, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always have a good time, and I'm trying to make it about. It's a little selfish, but it's about me, right? It's about
It's
like
your time,
what
man.
I want out of the sport, and so sometimes whether it's how many times I want to do it, whether I want to compete, who I want to roll with, it's about the challenges that you give yourself. And I think right now I've reached like a point of like equilibrium as far as how much I want to keep learning and how much I engage others. I mean, you gotta balance yourself because I am getting older. What am I going to prove against like someone that's like, I mean, there's people that are like not even half my age or less than that.
Yeah.
And they're absolute monsters, right? And I'm like, but still, it's fun to, just they're still
challenge
trying to kill
yourself,
you,
yeah.
right? But it's that balance. I want to I'm just mostly curious. How long am I going to do this for, right? Sometimes I have there's a little fatigue, but there's like, but there's still that joy, right? There's like I sit there. I mean, every time I drive, actually. When I'm driving over here, it's actually, I get nervous, right? Because I feel like, oh man, everybody's so tough. But the thing is that the way that I feel like I've managed to develop my game, I feel like, man, I can really I feel comfortable with even big guys, like really big guys. And even as they get you and they, grab you from the belt and I've been tossed. Where just, people they saw something on YouTube or whatever and they're going to come practice it on me. And like, I've been tossed and like, I'm like, whoa. And I've been like, okay, there's something to the way I've reached my comfort level where I'm like, okay, I can survive these encounters with these really tough characters, right? And so I mean, just the fact that you survive, to me, I walk out like feeling like like I won. Like I mean, that's a big on my book, right?
Yeah, big win.
So,
I'm always curious. What made you want to stay here? Like, just what do you remember? What made you want to stay here? Right, Gracie Law was legacy, legacy Burbank. What made you want to stay here?
There was this one.
What kept you coming back?
Well, there's a lot of drama in jiu-jitsu. Like, there's always this jiu-jitsu drama, right? And I've been witnesses to almost every gym I've been to, and then this one's no exception, right? But what I've seen, I feel like I've seen I feel like I've been a little bit a part of your journey, in the sense that I remember that the speech you gave when you decided to drop the, to split from that and actually build a brand for yourself. And, I've thought about, okay, maybe I started my journey with you a little later, but that day I felt like, oh, this is a new chapter, right? This is like, I feel like, okay, I'm part of this foundation, right? I'm part of this new chapter that you're doing, that you're writing, and I feel like, okay, well, I could be part of that too. And so I feel there's a comfort here that I have as far as where you know where I feel like this is kind of home. I mean, like there's every year there's like and every year there's new people, and every few years you could tell that there's a new generation, right? There's like, and so I'm always curious.
You've been through a few generations already.
Yeah, I mean, and so it's always exciting to see all the people that are coming through, and how many people keep going through, and how many people remain, right? And so, for now, for the time being, I mean, everything's working out where I have the means to like keep going, whether just physically and just time wise, just like to continue to participate. But yeah, it was basically that one day that I said, well, I'm staying here, this is where I like it. Actually, Marco was making. No, well, I don't know if he was making fun of me, but he made a comment on my.
Was. he probably was for sure.
No, he made a comment on my hoodie, right? And this one here has the
classic. Yeah, it was the first one when you first.
Yeah, so this just goes to show you, people. Who knows where other people's hoodies like this are, but it's not even the font, right? You've already changed fonts. You already. Yeah. You already did a brand refresh. I'm still like sporting your old stuff.
Yeah.
But see, that just goes to show
Vintage,
you, like,
yeah.
it's like, there's like, how comfortable I am and how much I like. There's even a gym down that's, the Legacy Pasadena. That's just 7 minutes away from me. And then I mean, nothing against them. It's beautiful school, but I mean, this is where like there's this comfort where like, where I feel like I just been here, like I get to see you, I get to see the people that I've been seeing every day for like so many years, and then there's just this comfort level, even just the building, the smell, everything, it's like everything has like this, even circling around for parking, everything, it's just like, it's just a habit. So I'm just this creature of habit where I just want to come here. So it's not so much, not even like the school system itself, but it's just the school, right? So it's good. It's where there's this comfort. But we'll see.
Yeah,
it's like,
man. Like I was talking to somebody today at the lunch class of how, we should be doing this because it's good for us, in one way or the other. And for example, Pasadena is close to you. Like you're bringing your daughter in, right?
Right.
And so
she's taking a little time off, but yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's great because, it's hard for parents. It's got to be close to where they live. But, it's also nice to have options, right? In case like the time or whatever, just to have options, right? Of the other times, like close, maybe closer, even though it's like home and it's worth it, but just to have options, right? So people can continue training, because the goal is to keep training till the end, for at least for me, but then also like all my friends, we should be doing it. We should be like Haley Gracie on the mat till the end, because it's good for us. We got to learn how to recover. We got to learn how to, keep our bodies healthy, even though your style is very good for not getting damaged, right? Your turtle style.
Well, that's my
your
goal.
Wing Chun, I call it, like Wing Chun. I was trying to, you're like, your hand fight is like red belt level.
My goal is to be able to grapple like this. Just this is what I do. I want to do this. That's it. I don't want to move. I don't want to like do any like upside down stuff. I just want to do this, and then maybe you're choking me. I just do this, and you're like, it stops the choke.
No, but
right?
he's tricky, because if you overcommit, he counters you and flips you and gets you in a submission. You're like, what the heck? Like, so you gotta, he like does all these like crazy. He's like doesn't give any space, and then if you overcommit, then he uses it against you. So it's like totally like a awesome style of
It's
jiu-jitsu.
and it all stems
You're
back from that.
Yeah, from being at
From
the
getting
MMA gym. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it was intense, but yeah. I mean, and it makes it really fun. I mean, it's like I feel like, I leave. I honestly, you can start rolling. Like I can start rolling without really warming up. Because I don't have that.
You warm up in your training.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing it slow enough where like even if someone, I always get the crazy type. But if you're like, okay, well, I know you're like a little more energetic than me, so start getting your whatever you want. Everybody wants something, right? So either they're just want to pin you down, but most people take the back because that's what they love. They want to circle around, and so even if I kind of like just lean in, and then they just take your back. Okay. So they're the fast guy, the guy that just jumps around, the guy that you just the last match you just saw with some other guy just going rah, 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 and then you end up with that person. Now he's just settled down and he's on your back trying to work it, right? And then that's where like you go to work, right? Now I got like
defend, reverse.
I'm not worried about like this cat fight where who knows where my arm is gonna end up.
Some crazy scramble,
yeah. And so that's really what okay, that's what's been.
We got to do a video of one of your techniques, Tortuga.
It always looks like I'm getting they're sweeping the floor with me. There's like it always looks like man, like I have someone smashing my face against the mat. And I'm like, but I think, I think I walk out of most engagements, with some sort of level of satisfaction. Like I feel like, okay, this wasn't too bad. That's, I mean, again, if I survive, that's my win right there. I feel like, and that's the other thing about, coming to the mother school is that there's so much variety. So every time I try to I try to pick someone different and to roll with, and then there's that practice that you get with rolling with different people. There's just so many of us. I mean, sometimes it's just like even at noon, the noon class, you just see I've seen 10 something black belts. I mean, you don't see that anywhere. I mean, that's Brazil stuff, right?
Yeah,
that's the stuff that you see in those gyms, but you don't see it here unless there's specific black belt classes.
Yeah.
But and then it's amazing just to see how many people train at any given day at that hour. It's just there's so much variety.
Jiu-Jitsu veteran, Tortuga.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that that you just kind of at ninjutsu is you get it out of the way, and then you do it early. Your lunch. That's actually my lunch hour, and then I'm like, I get out of the way. I'm like, I have a great day after that.
It's
so
awesome. It's awesome.
But
Well, I was gonna ask you. Back in the day, you did some video animation and some. So what did you grow up in LA? Are you from? Is your family? You guys moved to LA?
yeah,
Oh, because you've always been here.
right.
And what made you stay in LA? What made you? Cause is your family still here?
Yeah,
Mom and dad,
Yeah, they're still here. I mean,
Because it's always
It is.
interesting to hear people's story. I know you were doing stuff for the NFL, some graphic stuff for them, some Fox TV and some other cool stuff. I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. This is what I can do.
yeah.
And this is back in the day, so this is early days of that stuff. So I was like, oh my god.
So
that's
I was
crazy.
So
And
what
you
I
did one for Legacy,
Yeah.
I got you.
yeah, usually. So I'm art director and I do sports graphics.
Okay.
We do it broadcast graphics.
Broadcast
So I also
graphics.
do news or whatever, but anything that broadcast or even webcast now because an animation's an animation.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I don't necessarily animate. I did it back in those days. I was animating a little more, but this time I'm just mostly designing. And then it's almost like it's like drawing blueprints or key art, what people, what we call it's key art. And then it's like building a blueprint and then you give it to the animators and the animators animate it and
Do their thing.
do their thing. And so That's I've been doing that for a while now. I mean, designing. I've been doing it for like over like almost 30 years.
Wow.
I want to say 30 years, but I mean, this is like early starts. So like when I just started, like, just
No, it was like
in
many years
newspaper,
ago.
because I started
Okay.
a newspaper.
Wow. Wow.
Doing ads, making ads,
Wow.
and from there I realized that maybe what I want to do is more animated, because doing something for Ford of what Ford of Long Beach or whatever, I don't want to do that anymore. And so I started doing something else. I started like learning about I used to buy all these, go to Barnes and Noble and buy all these like books on animation, and I would try to learn on using the software and stuff like that. And uh, slowly I started like putting little bits, a little reel, right? Like it wasn't really like that. That I wouldn't call myself talented, but I mean but I would try to just learn as much as I could and see if that's where I want to go. It's always like this whole thing where you're like, I've been trying to like find myself, like what is it that I want to do. So I tried that, and after a while, I realized that I didn't want to animate, but I did like the design aspect of it. So I wanted like, okay, I wanted to like, this is the way I wanted it to look, but I don't want to animate it. So it's like, then I started doing more design.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now that's mostly what I do. And then I do it for like, again, like for globally, there's a lot of like, Sky Sports, and I've done it for different, like even like popular with us is like soccer, like Bundesliga, NFL.
Yeah. If you see those stuff, that's like Tortuga, making sure it looks good.
Yeah, so
I was kind of like, oh no way, that's crazy.
Yeah,
this
but
is years ago.
Yeah, but I've been with this company doing the same thing, like doing something similar for for as long as I've been doing jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
Because that week that I got my first paycheck, I said, I'm going to jiu-jitsu. This is where I'm going. This is like, I finally got my first big check. I'm going to go. That's where I'm going. And so that's when I really started.
Look at that, huh?
So they're hand in hand. The how long I've been with that company and how long I've been doing jiu-jitsu, because it was that same month that I decided, okay, there's a little money coming in. So
That's cool. It's cool.
And yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's there's slow days, but or some there's some days that you just feel like, man, do I want to do something else? But I've realized that it's not even that I want to do something else. I think that I'm kind of like getting close to where I'm done with working, and I haven't figured out what that transition is going to be. I don't want to call it retirement, but it's not working. There's no joy. I don't think I'm going to find any joy if I found like a Disney or for something because so a lot of people say, oh, you work for a big studio. I don't know. I don't think that's going to be my joy. I think I need a transition where I'm still active, but I mean it's not this whole deadline driven approach to like to your existence. Like I need something that's already winding it down for me, and so I don't know what that's going to be, but for now I'm still enjoying what I do.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's a lot of years to find joy in something you do. So that's pretty cool.
I was actually talking to Kevin. We were talking about careers and how much how many jobs he's had already, but I was telling him that you have like this, as you get older, you have these little moments of reflection of like when all these memories that you kind of like you cemented down and like, man, I did that, or I came from here, or I did that, and I met this person. It's like it builds up. I mean, you must kind of see that similarity because you're like, you have exposure to like so many things, right? So many people, and just just your career's taking you so many places. So I mean, it's just these little moments that where you just reflect on everything. It's kind of like, oh man, it's just like I'm glad, you know, I've done all these things. Sometimes you made mistakes, or sometimes you've made you know, wrong choices. But even if you feel like you're correcting at one point, you know, it's like and kind of refine yourself, then it makes it worth it. You know, you're gonna go down with some memories.
Yeah, it's part of the process, right?
Yeah.
The good and the bad. There's no a lot of times there's no good without the bad, too. Or the good becomes great because of some bad, right?
Yeah, you need a little balance.
Yeah,
you need a little
that's
exposure
it.
to everything.
That's it.
But yeah,
That's it. So you got your black belt. I want to just ask you that, like, what did it mean for you to get your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt after all these years?
wow, it was surreal. I mean, you had to you didn't really say, you know, you're gonna get your black belt so and such a day, but you always asking, well, how many years have you been training? And
Yeah, I never tell anybody because it's not done. It's not going to happen for sure.
Plus,
until that moment.
Plus, you're the boss man, right? You're it's based on how you gauge each person's development. Like for example, with me, I don't compete, so you really don't judge me on that. I don't know what I mean. I'm gonna leave it to you because it's fascinating to me. But I mean, you're like how you decide. Well, this person, that's enough. He or she earned a black belt, right? Because I don't compete. I don't teach. I mean, I spread my knowledge when I'm asked, right? I sit there and I will explain it to someone. I love that. But at one point or another, you said, hey, I'm gonna present him with his black belt. So there's some honor to that, where you just feel honored. You're like, yeah, oh man, I'm worthy. It's like when you give me my black belt, I think I had already been practicing 12 years or something like that, or something crazy like that. So, yeah. So there is this feeling that you felt like, okay, you reached a milestone, right? That and there's a reflection point. To me, the reflection point is like, okay, what does it really mean to me in the sense that, I mean, there's no invincibility or anything. It's just, it's this thing that you've committed to, and you've been doing it for such a while that, so there's this sense of accomplishment, right? And then there's this sense of that you've done something that I don't know, that's respected, and that in some cases admired, and then you have it, right? And then not only that, but I mean, but the person who recognized it, in this case yourself, I mean, it comes with pedigree, right? So you feel like there's this alignment to this pedigree of former black belts, and and even though I have no similarities to your struggles and everything that you did, but I mean, I'm one of the people that you've recognized to be a black belt. And so, I mean, again, I'm not gonna I don't know what you saw in me to say you're ready, but at the same time, there's an overwhelming joy that to know that you actually thought that, and that you actually presented me with that, with that honor, actually, because it's I've earned it somehow.
Definitely earned it.
And so, and now I'm just curious. I mean, how far I got a few years later, I got a stripe, and I'm and then just overall, I'm hanging in there, I'm surviving these kids and these big guys and everything. So there's so I feel like it's working for me. I'm going home, not like my old days of jiu-jitsu where I will go home limping, and no injuries, ever. You know, and it's like, so, I mean, you know, you could get injured playing basketball. So if I get injured here or there, you know, or a little bruise here, bruise there. But I mean, for the most part, the thing where you feel like you're deteriorating because you're like, you know, there's this roughness. I don't have that. I don't have that. I don't have that level of injury. And then you could say, well, you know, you're like, well, you don't go with any hard guys. Yes, I do. I do.
Yeah, you go with everybody.
There's huge people out there, right? There's this like things that are, you know, like outweigh me by, you know,
Double.
I wouldn't say double.
Almost.
I mean, Valentino's a big guy, right? Like Professor Valentino's big. I mean, he's just like, and then he'll toss you, and like he's one of those guys that'll pick you up, like especially once he gets frustrated a little bit. He's like, oh. You know, there's all sorts of people. You know, they're like the long leg guys that are just throwing legs everywhere.
Yeah.
Like there's like the buff fit guys. There's like the girls that are just like they're like ninjas. They're just like throwing everything at you. I'm like, man, everyone wants to kill you, but I mean, there's something that must be going on, right? Because I don't go home injured, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a lot of it there. I mean, as long as you know, it makes me feel like, okay, I still feel pretty good. You know, I'm still hanging in there. I feel like, well, I could keep doing it until, let's see, my body. So I was telling Ron that I said, well, it's either I'll stop when people start not trying to kill me because they feel sorry for me, or I can't. I mean, I'm getting killed because I can't do anything anymore, you know? So it's like, I can't do anything to, you know, stop anyone anymore. So I think that's like my benchmark for now. I mean, it's always hard to see, you know, what life throws at you. But I mean, for as the course, like the course I'm taking, then those are my benchmarks for now.
Nice. Why should somebody do jiu-jitsu?
Let's see. That's a great question. You know, again, it comes to a little bit of exposure. Have you ever had the curiosity and you say that's for you? I would say don't think about, oh, you know, I'm not going to I mean, I don't really want to compete. Okay, I just, you know, I want to try it out. And if that's preventing you from going because you think, oh, that's just for competition, or I don't want a career in it, or I don't want to get injured. I mean, look at me. I mean, I don't, you know, I do it because I like it. I just do it a couple times a week, or 2 or 3 times a week, and that's good enough. You know, you stay. It keeps you sharp. It gives you clarity. I mean, you know, it keeps you happy. I mean, it's a endorphin release. It's a good core workout.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have the curiosity, if you don't have a curiosity, well, then don't do it. I mean, but if you have the curiosity, do it. Do yourself a favor. Go in for a couple classes and just start and just see if you like it.
Mind, right?
People, find a good school where you fit in, because, you know, how the people that roll with you and you train with, I mean, it's a close contact sport, right? And so you're always, and it's a competitive sport, and so how you get along with people is very important too. So, but I mean, for the most part, nothing's gonna happen. I mean, if you try it, you give it a try, and then you start to see what changes it brings. I mean, it usually brings changes whether you meet people, whether, you know, you're exercising and you start to, you know, get healthier.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people lose weight. I've seen a lot of people just get stronger. I've seen a lot of people make careers out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen
You've
a
seen
lot
a lot of these kids grow up, huh?
Yeah.
On the mat.
Yeah. I've seen people get married. I've seen people, everything, you know, there's a little of everything. So you never know what's going to take you. If you're one of those, like, actually it's also exposure to people. There's a lot of people with a lot of political differences.
Right.
We're
all doing what? We're all together on the mat.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing.
You know what?
We're all one.
That person that you just, you know, rolled with, you shook hands and you hugged.
Yep.
That's the guy you were, you know, talking crap of like in Twitter, right? That's like the guy. That's the guy that
Facebook,
yeah,
whatever.
exactly. So that's how it is. You're gonna learn. You're gonna meet people that probably you weren't even interested in meeting, right?
All types
And
of people.
it's gonna make you just a more relaxed person and a person that just more in tune with everybody and the things around you.
So I wanted to, it's kind of you're talking about all these things, but what are the greatest joys of being around jiu-jitsu? It's like for the last 18 years, right? 18 years, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what are the greatest joys training jiu-jitsu have given you?
I always make fun of myself when I tell people that it's I do sad jujitsu. Right?
Sad jiu-jitsu. Come on,
because
man.
hold on a second,
Yeah.
because it's like
dude, you have such a great style because it's like you don't get hurt. You're like nobody can do anything, and then if they overcommit, they try to get you too much, you flip it on them, and can catch them. So it's great. It's a great style. I love it.
So
it's a different style from a lot of the guys that we have in the class.
I think so.
James, Professor James. I love his Todd. Your Todd name,
his,
Turtle
his
of Death.
references.
Yeah.
Well, sad jujitsu is like, I basically come in here with whatever worry I have. I just, even if I'm like,
Gotcha,
in a bad mood or just sad or just like, I just sit there and I roll. And then when even you think, like, for example, there's times where you like, you've had a bad day with whatever, anyone, and or just bad news, or it doesn't matter. I mean, I say to myself, okay, well, I'm just going to show up. And a lot of people might say, I'm not really feeling, I just need a little space. But, that showing up is the space, right? It's the space that because you're not really going to break down into anyone and say, oh, I whatever, this and this happened. But, just the fact that you're out there by yourself is something that it's for yourself, right? You do it by yourself. You're rolling, but I mean, at the end, you're like there on your own. There's no like teammate. It's not like a team sport or anything. It's a youth sport. And so to just show up and just like that moment that you have, like that where you said, well, just like, where you're just gonna let yourself go. I mean, I'm on no ego aside, everything. I'm just here because I just want to be away from X, right? I just whatever that trouble is, and you just sit there. Sometimes I just sit there and I just slouch, right? And I just like, well, whatever. And then the belt starts, and you start getting your grips and everything, and then there's something that is just like, it's almost like you see yourself from the outside. It's like you've given yourself this space where you're like, you begin grappling, and then without this care, right? Without any type of care, without any at least for me, that I don't care that, okay, if someone's going to submit me or whatever. But then you start getting more engaged, right? And engaged. And then you finish that match, and then you do the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. And then we realize that you finish your class, and you realize, oh, I feel a little better. I feel like whatever was weighing me down helped me out. I mean, I'm sure that's true of a lot of exercises, but there's something about this, because you're out there with this. How do I say it? It's like you're responding to like this. You have to respond, right? Like it's almost like you have to show up. Like you have to, like when you start rolling with someone, even if you're sad,
you have to be present. You have to be completely present. You can't be thinking about what happened, being sad, being whatever. You have to be.
You made the choice, right?
Yeah.
You made the choice. It's like sometimes, I know this might sound a little mean, but sometimes like people, you're about to start your roll, and then someone say, well, I kind of I drank too much yesterday. Like, okay, well, are you here or not? Are you like, I mean, I drank too, whatever. It's like, are you here? Because if not, I can pick someone else. I mean, it sounds like cold, but it's the truth, right?
Yeah.
Don't get in there.
Yeah.
Don't go in there if you don't feel like it. But But if you show up, you know, and you know you try.
Where,
I mean, what's the
wherever
worst
you're
thing?
at, you're gonna do your best.
Yeah. What's the worst that's gonna happen? I mean, you're like among friends, right? Just tap, you know. But it's just again, it's sad jujitsu. Like I just like
That's
this is
funny.
one
That's
of one
funny.
of these things that you just kind of let go. It's almost like when you just float in a pool and you just like and see what happens and like see what happens where that person's gonna put their grips in and you're just kind of like, okay, this is the flow. This is where we're gonna go. We're gonna go this way. Okay, go. And then you start all of a sudden you start moving. It's kind of like you know you start doing your dance and there you go. And you
Love it. That's it. Does jiu-jitsu, do you think it keeps you young?
it could and it couldn't. I mean, if
For you.
for me, I think so. I mean, I feel like I love saying I'm old. I love saying I'm old, but I feel like
Do you feel old when you're on the mat, when you show up and
no,
train with
not
all
at
these
all.
young guys?
Not at
and
all. The truth
all,
is that
all
it's
ages of people?
yeah. I mean, the truth is that I don't feel old. I don't know why I say it. I gotta like have a little like talk to myself, like you know, with myself, and why is it that
Why
I
you
like
keep saying that?
yeah, because I really love you know my age. I don't feel like I mean I could always you know be a little fitter, but I mean I'm like I don't really feel like I feel young, you know, but I don't. But
Savage.
I also like saying, you know, maybe it's a reflection that says, "Hey, I have experience." I don't know exactly. I have to, you know, if I figure it out, I'll tell you. But I think it might be like it's saying to you, "Hey, I have a little experience. Have a little, you know, give me a chance to show you some experience." You know, but
But your
I
attitude is
don't know.
I feel young. Even though you say,
Inside, I
well,
say I'm old. I feel old, but inside, I feel like, man, I feel like, whoa, I feel like this is, you know, at this rate, I feel like I could probably, you know, keep rolling a lot longer. I mean, usually, you know, you start to gauge yourself, right? I see older practitioners and they
Yeah.
start to, you know, okay, they start like picking, like, you know, not as maybe physical opponents or like a more active opponent. They're sort of something that more their level, right? But I feel like right now I feel like I'm comfortable with whoever, right? And so once that start to change, and then maybe I'll make adjustments and I'll see. For the most part, I feel young. I mean, I don't feel like I do. It does keep you young. There's something about it. I mean, it is.
I don't know if I ever told you about the. Well, I say it sometimes on the podcast. Just I had this like high level psychologist black belt back in the day in Pasadena. He came to train, and you know I said that exact thing. Like, why do you think people that do jiu-jitsu they seem much younger than no matter what age they are? I mean, Savage even. You know, when I speak to him, I don't feel like he's close to 80. You know, and I'm like, why is that? He's like, oh, it's interesting you say that because when you're a kid, everything's in the now, everything's in the present. But as you get older, everything's in the past or the future. You're never like really in the present. But jiu-jitsu brings you back to your childhood, brings you to the present. And so in a way, you know,
Yeah,
you're a
I see
kid. You're
that.
a kid out there.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, you're doing. It's almost like if you look at. I don't want to refer to us as animals, but if you look at like, you know, cats and kittens and stuff, or even little kids, you know, they're always like rolling, they're always play fighting and stuff like that. And
That's
as
what
you
you're
get
doing.
older, and you get
Yeah,
older, and
yeah.
you stop that because you
stop,
got to
yeah.
do that. But I mean, at that, as you do this, you like as you continue to do this, you are doing that's a youth capturing moment, you know.
Going upside down, doing this, all these
I
crazy
mean,
positions. We can't take ourselves too serious with some of the positions sometimes, right? And we're out there being
yeah,
completely present, connecting with other people, even though we're trying to choke them and get them in a joint submission, right?
yeah. I mean,
But we're connecting to it, and there's like a deep trust as well, right, with all of our training partners.
exactly. I mean, if you're someone that's not very considerate of your opponent and or your partner, not even opponent, your partner, then you really like doing it you know. I don't know. You're just why be there? I mean, it's really a good place for trust. It's a place where, where you can learn a little, live a little, and just give that. It's a gift to you. I honestly, as corny as that might sound, it's really for you. I mean, the little things that you're always running around doing stuff with your kids and doing things with the girlfriend or the wife or, doing things for your parents. But I mean, you're doing or working and you just manage to like get out and escape a little bit. It's a little something that you're going to do for yourself, man. Just do that for yourself, at least for yourself. Just detach yourself from like the everyday life and just, even though it might seem routine because you come here and you're like, and you're training, but I mean, it's a detachment nonetheless. And so detach yourself from that and just
in a positive way, because you come back from it better, right?
Yeah.
You become a better person,
again, to me,
better friend, better husband, better everything, better dad.
To me, there's this, you always have the absolute walk that you takeaway for me is like, there's always some clarity, right? Sometimes I walk in here and I'm like, I walked away from something I was designing that I couldn't figure out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, you know what? I just need, the juices to start flowing again. And just like, and then you walk away and you sit back on your desk and you're like, it makes it, because you're like, it's almost like, like you see.
Unblocked.
Yeah. I mean, like that design work, that's one thing, but I mean, even everything, even like,
it's interesting,
like you want to explain something, like I want to explain something to my daughter, and sometimes I can't explain it, like, so I just need to walk away, and then I just like, okay, then you find the words. It's like almost like, it's just, I don't know, it's just refocusing. It's crazy that you could refocus yourself and bring yourself back. I mean, but again, it's true of a lot of sports, but what is unique about this is that close contact that you have with someone else, and it's like that
human touch, right?
Yeah. Even
connection.
Even at the end there, when we're all shaking our hands and everything, and it's almost like saying, it's all good, right? And so you walk out of there and you just, doesn't matter what it is, it's like, it's all good.
It's beautiful.
So that's really what it boils down to me.
I love
for
it.
me.
That's it. Love it. Well, thank you, brother, thank you for your example, your consistency, your attitude. I love your style too. It's great, because
that's refreshing to hear.
Yeah, because it's different, right? It's not like everybody has different styles, everybody have different techniques, and it's kind of unique to you. And so that's great. And I love how, you're very resilient and you don't get hurt, like very rarely, right? Anything can happen. But overall, you're very like resilient and you don't get hurt, and you're tricky. You're crafty. You're calculating. You're like, if somebody overcommits or does something, you reverse it. And anyway, about the style. But yeah, I appreciate you. I
really appreciate
your hard
you.
work, your
Thank
consistency.
you.
One of the greatest gifts that I can receive is you brought your daughter in to train, and to see that like means everything to me. And have you part of our legacy family. Like, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to be here. Great to be part of it.